Welcome to the Asian Connection Mortgage Podcast, where we connect Asian Canadians together to talk about anything related to real estate, mortgages, and finances, based out of Vancouver. Our host is John Lee, mortgage broker with Arise Mortgage. Grab a bubble tea and enjoy the episode.
Welcome to another episode of the Asian Connection Mortgage Podcast. My name is John Lee, your mortgage broker in BC, Canada. And today we're going to be talking about something that catches almost everyone, especially first-time home buyers, off guard, and that is closing costs. So imagine you saved up a lot of money for your down payment and you got pre-approved, you found the perfect home, and once everything is near the finish line and you have to do a signing with your lawyer, and your lawyer is like, okay, well, that's great, we're gonna be signing this, and oh, by the way, please send me a bank draft of your down payment plus thousands of dollars more than what you expected in the beginning. So today I'm going to break down every single closing cost that you'll face when buying real estate in BC. I say in BC because every province is different. Other provinces may have lower closing costs, but in BC is unfortunately one of the highest. So by the end of the episode, you'll know exactly what to budget for, and I'll share some insider tips just to keep these costs as low as possible. So let's dive into it. So before we go in talking about listing out all these closing costs, let's just talk about what are closing costs. And the closing costs are all these fees and expenses that you pay on top of your down payment to actually take ownership of your new home. So in BC, these typically run between around 2 to 2.25% of your purchase price. So for example, if you're buying a $800,000 home, expect to pay somewhere from around $16,000 to $20,000 in closing costs. So you'll notice that this is, first off, a pretty huge amount, especially again, if you're a first-time home buyer, you've already saved up, and it's like, oh, by the way, $16,000 to $20,000. That's like a second-hand car, but you're not getting a second-hand car. You're just paying all these fees to different professionals and the government. And this is a pretty huge range as well. So it depends on lots of several factors that we're going to cover. So the key thing to understand is that these are separate from your down payment. So if you're putting down 20% on a $800,000 home, you need around $160,000 plus $16,000 to $20,000 for closing costs. So the issue is most buyers will budget for the $160,000, which is a lot of money in the first place, but they forget to budget all the closing costs. So don't be that guy. Listen to this podcast and you'll know all the closing costs. So let's start off with the biggest one in BC. And this is something I always share with my clients, and that is the property transfer tax. So what is this? This is a tax by the government where they would take a certain percentage when there is a name change on a property. And it's different for different provinces. So in BC, this is how it works. So the first $200,000, the government will take 1% of the purchase price, 2% on the amount between $200,000 and $2 million. And if you are buying a property that's over $2 million, then the amount that's over $2 million will be 3%. So let's give you an example. So just to give you an idea, $500,000, then your property transfer tax that you would be considering would be $8,000. If you're buying, say, like a townhome at 1.2 million, then your property transfer tax will be 22,000. Yes, so these are really big numbers. And again, you can't borrow this. This has to be in cash. The good thing is that if you're a first-time home buyer, you do get exemptions. So if you're a first-time home buyer and you're buying something that's under $835,000 and it is an existing property, so not brand new, someone owns it already, then you can get a property transfer tax rebate of up to $8,000 from the government. And the good news is that if it's a new home, the exemption is even higher. So and you don't actually have to be a first-time home buyer. So it's any buyer who plans to live in a property that is brand new will get a full exemption on new homes up to $1.1 million. So now that we got the most expensive closing costs out of the way, this will be the second largest closing cost, and that will be legal fees and other related costs surrounding closing the transaction. So in BC, every real estate transaction needs a notary or a lawyer to represent you as the buyer. So what are the fees that you're looking at? So I don't want to quote any one price, but just to give you a range, their legal fees or notary fees will range about $1,500 to $2,000. So this would cover reviewing contracts, title searches, registering the property transfer, and dealing with your lender with the mortgage. There's other disbursements as well. So disbursements are out-of-pocket costs that your lawyer pays on your behalf, and these costs would be around, I would say, $500 to $800. Again, don't quote me. Really depends on your situation. But what would it include? So title searches, property tax search, registration fees, courier fees. So though all these things will be considered under disbursements. On top of that, there's something called title insurance as well. So again, depends on the property you're purchasing. It would be around $250 to about $600 or so. And this protects you against title defects, survey issues, and zoning problems. Um, Most of the time, it's actually not you wanting it, it's the lender who wants it, so that you're paying this insurance to protect them. You also get benefit as well in the event, your title gets taken over because of fraud. But most lawyers will set this up for you if the lender requires it. And yeah, so in total, with the legal fees and the disbursements, you're probably looking closer to about $2,000 to $3,000 for everything. Next would be inspections and appraisals. So home inspections depends how big your property is. It will probably range about $600 to about $1,000. This is optional, but it's usually highly recommended, especially if you're buying something that is existing. A good inspector can really help you save thousands of dollars catching different problems that you may not see. These are trained professionals with the trained eye. They do inspections many times per day, and they'll know what needs to get done. And also in this slower market, what I find is that lots of real estate agents, they would use the home inspection report as a negotiating tool. And they're like, hey, the inspection says the roof needs to be repaired in 2 to 3 years from now. Um, I want you to cover that, or I want you to lower the price to cover a portion of this repair. So definitely get the home inspection for your own peace of mind, but in a slower market, it can be used as a negotiating tool as well. Next is appraisal fees. So this will range about $300 to $500. If you're paying down less than 20%, your lender will require an appraisal, but you don't actually have to pay for it. Again, this is something that the lender requires. They just want to make sure that the purchase price that is on the contract is consistent with the market price so that they can um, know what the true value is and lend against it. Now, the next few things will be smaller ones. So, insurance and utilities. So, home insurance, you'll pay the first year premium. Give you an idea, if it's a house, you're probably gonna be paying about $1,200 to $2,500 per year. Townhouse, $800 to about $1,800, and then condo, really cheapest, about $300 to $800 per year. What I find for home insurance that really makes the biggest difference is whether or not you want earthquake protection. So earthquake protection is optional. The lenders don't require you to take it. But in Vancouver, because we are in an earthquake zone, the insurance premiums do jump up. The standard home insurance does cover fire and flood, which is the basic that the lenders want. So that's good enough. But if you want extra protection, then your premiums will go up. Your lender also need proof of this, so make sure that you get a hold of your insurance agent, provide their contact information with your notary or lawyer, and they'll be able to set it up for you. There's also really minor things like utility connections and deposits. So BC Hydro, Fortis, internet, cable setup. So all of these things will require someone to come. And there might be like a setup fee. So something to consider. And then when you buy a property, depends on the date. There's a property tax adjustment and also strata fee adjustment as well. So um, you the current owner probably has paid for the entire year. So when you purchase it midway, then you'll have to pay them back the owing portion of the year's property taxes, depending on when you close. This is not so much a closing cost. This is just a big tax on top, if especially if you are buying a pre-sale. The good thing about GST is that you can add the GST on top of the purchase price, and you can add that, and therefore you can borrow a portion of it to help out with the closing costs. So when you need to pay GST, it's if it's a new construction or if there's a place that's substantially renovated, or yeah, those would be the two, like a new build or a condo. You don't need to pay it if it's an existing home sold by individuals. Most resale properties, yeah, they you don't need to pay on that. Um, there are GST exemptions, so there are no GST for first-time home buyers if you are buying a brand new property that's up to 1 million. There's also other condo specific costs that you might want to consider that you need to factor in. So, like I mentioned before, strata fees. There might be special assessments, so make sure you read through the condo documents. There might be other strata document review fees. So make sure you um, factor those in. Ask your realtor to go over the condo fees with you. Also, like a lawyer to go over it as well, just in case if you're missing anything. Uh, when you're buying a place, you're moving, so there's moving costs. So about $500 up to like $2,000 to $3,000, depending on how much stuff you have. And yeah, there's also like immediate home expense costs like changing locks. There might be some maintenance repairs that needs to get done right away. So make sure you factor that cost as well. There's also storage costs as well. So if the timing of the move out and the move in, there's some delays, you may need to rent a temporary storage unit, and for that, there's obviously additional costs. So make sure, if you can, just line up the possession days on the same day. It can be quite stressful, but it does help you save some costs. So what can you do to minimize these closing costs? Because it feels like it just goes up and up and up, and you've already paid 20% down, and you have to pay more. So I would suggest getting different quotes from multiple lawyers or notaries, depending on who it is or their experience. Uh, the cost can be quite a big range. So get a few different quotes. Get your realtor or mortgage broker to recommend some people for you. Compare different insurance rates, and same with inspectors. So whatever that you do need to hire, just get 2 to 3 different quotes, so then you can compare and find the best fit for you. So Conclusion, before you start shopping, again, budget 2 to 2.5% of your purchase price for closing costs. Make sure you get pre-approved upfront, and then you also understand all your costs. Shop around for lawyers, inspectors, and insurance agents. And when you do make an offer, factor closing costs into your total budget so you're not surprised at the very end. Consider asking sellers to help some of that cost. So, in a slower market like this, talk to your realtor, see if they can negotiate to reduce the payments or cover any of the expenses. Depends on how desperate the seller is. They might be willing to do that. And whatever that the mortgage can cover, like the GST, for example, make sure you factor all those in as well. So, yeah, so closing costs, they can be significant, but the good thing is that they're also very predictable as well. I do have a spreadsheet that can list out all these closing costs. So I can just punch in the numbers and it will give you a pretty good estimate of what your closing cost is. Reach out and I'm happy to share that with you. So there you go. So that's your complete guide to closing costs in BC. If this saved you from an unpleasant surprise, or if you think someone is going to be purchasing something and you think this will help them, share it with them, and make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, reach out if you have any questions. Happy to run the numbers specific to your situation. I'm here to help. And thanks for listening to the Asian Connection Mortgage Podcast. Until next time, I will see you in the next episode.
Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider giving us a review and subscribing to our podcast on your favorite platform. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on the